So last week we started our unit on decimals, and today we're going to just take a little step back and review tenths. So we're going to look at relating tenths and decimals today, okay? So let's just go over a few things. A decimal is a number with one or more digits to the right of the decimal point. And the decimal point is a symbol used to separate the ones and tenths place in a number, or to separate dollars and cents. So here's two examples, 6 and 4/10. I always put the decimal point after the ones place and before the tenths place. In dollars and cents, the decimal goes after the dollar amount before the cents amount. We can use a place value chart to help us understand where our decimal point goes. If this is our ones place, in larger numbers, we would have ones, tens, hundreds, thousands moving to the left. But as we get smaller, we're going to move to the right with tenths, hundredths, and then thousands. Let's take a look at a problem for today. Okay, so here is our problem we're going to be looking at. Sorry about that. Ty is reading a book about metamorphic rocks. He has read 7/10 of the book. What decimal describes the part of the book that Ty has read? So we see that we have the amount that he read as a fraction. He's read 7/10 of the book. We want to write 7/10 as a decimal to show how much of the book he's read. We know he hasn't read the whole book. He's only read part of it. Again, a decimal is a number with one or more digits to the right of the decimal point. We're going to show some different ways that we can find the answer to this problem. One way to show this amount is we're going to model it in a tenths model. Okay, so here this square has been broken into 10 pieces. It says we want to shade in 7/10 of the model. So here's my model. Okay, you see this square is broken into 10 pieces. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. And we want to show 7/10. Okay, 7/10. So that means I need to shade in 7 of the 10 strips. 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So all of these 7/10. So I have 7/10 of my model filled in. I can write 7/10. Each part of this represents a tenth, and since I have a 7 in my tenths place, I can write it as 7/10 like this. Another way to show 7/10 is to use a place value chart, just like we looked at before. Ones, tenths, hundredths, thousands. In the number 7/10, I don't have any ones. I don't have a whole number here. So I'm going to put a 0 in my ones place and a 7 in my tenths place. I don't have any hundredths or thousands, so I can leave them blank for now. So I can write this number as 0 and 7/10. 0 and 7/10. I write it like this, and I say it as 0 and 7/10, just like we talked about last week. A third way that we can find the answer is to use a number line. So here I have a number line showing tenths. My number line begins at 0, 0 and no tenths, and ends at 1, 1 and no tenths. Look at how my fractions go: 0/10, 1/10, 2/10, 3/10, 4/10, 5/10, 6/10, 7/10, like what we're trying to find, 8/10, 9/10, and 10/10, 1 whole. Our tenths as a decimal will grow in the same way. 1/10, which is 1 in the tenths place, 2/10, a 2 in the tens place, and I can continue filling out my number line. 5 in the tens place, 6 in the tens place, 7 in the tens place, 8 in the tens place, 9 in the tens place. We see that I can write 7/10, the fraction, as 7/10 the decimal here. So 0.7, but that's not how we say it as a fifth grader. We say it 0 and 7/10 names the same amount as 7/10. And again, they have the same name, 7/10, 7/10. Think about how can you write 1/10 as a fraction. Think about that. We're going to come back and talk about how to write a mixed number as a decimal.